There we go. Looks like it's up. Welcome to today's live show. Remember, if you're not watching this live, to tune into the last 15 minutes as we will be giving a breakdown. And make sure to know, if you're not watching this live, we are going to be live later today. This morning stream will be cut a little bit short, but that's just because we're going live to watch the Fed interest rate decision and Jerome Powell talking. So if you want to join us later on for Jerome Powell, I'd really appreciate that. Make sure to come in and smash the like button so more people can be aware of some technical analysis, so more people can learn in this community. Overall, looking forward today. What's happening? Well, everything that we're talking about has happened over the last few days, right? This buying back up into the first sell zone. We see that sell off with the 2-hour crossing down into negative territory, but that's the only thing we're missing at this point, is the negative territory. So we're not necessarily there as of right now, and that's something to pay attention to. But if you do want to learn this stuff, remember that the course is $149 for only I think it's like four more days, I think. Yeah, I think 4 more days. So you have 4 more days to grab that course. Now, looking at this here, we're just looking for some kind of confirmation of downside. Actually, in the morning, we could be seeing a bounce. We're going to look at volatility, why we could get some kind of like small bounce in the morning, and then that might fade. We'll pay attention to that. But looking at the Qs, very similar story, but that first crossing, very difficult here. Really have to be watching the SPY to know, like, hey, I should be out of my Q calls at the previous bar. So I understand if someone was eaten alive by this, it's a little tricky in here, but you got to be on your toes in a market like this. We're coming down in the point where we really have to see that break through. We could retest, get some kind of small bounce, and then see that pull back down. But right now, seeing if this 2-hour can go negative. Remember, if we go negative, we can test the low here. Most likely going to test this level first. It's right in line with our daily expected move. And actually, this level right here is pretty important too, 420.94, right? The weekly range. So if we want to see something like this, remember there's a 68% chance for a bounce. That would make sense. We're just paying attention to any time that 2-hour wants to curl back up into positive territory, or the hourly. You could probably look at the hourly as well. Now here, if we're going to see further downside, most likely we are going to pull down to lower levels like this at the end of the day, right? So pretty much by tomorrow, maybe we do something like this. And then on Friday, maybe those earnings help us out a little bit, creating some kind of bear trap. That is the overall trap scenario. If we're going to see more dramatic downside here, I wanted to point this out on the daily because we do have those monthly expected moves up. So if you ever want the monthly expected moves, just let me know in the chat what you want the monthly expected moves for. But right now we do have, what do we have? We got 447.85 to the upside, and we have 401.33 to the downside. So we could be getting some kind of full test of this 200-day moving average, or at least down in this area. Remember, this zone in here is very important. If we go deep into that zone, some good buyers can step in. And remember, we have a whole month to make another move here, because if we get down to this level very early on in the month, right, we see some good selling throughout the week, and maybe next week we're able to touch that level. But right now I'm still leaning towards that 2-hour divergence down here. Or if you wanted to, you could pay attention to a 4-hour. The 4-hour is still in negative territory, so if that rolls over, boom, that is probably going to happen. The probabilities are with you if this 4-hour rolls over that it's going to make a new low, and we'll just pay attention to any divergences down here. That kind of leads to this being a trap. Apple, similar thing, right? You see the 4-hour still about to curl over, but I really like the 2-hour here, and the 2-hour still has not crossed. It's just about to. If Apple loses this low right here, I'm a little bit worried to the downside. So 169.25 going to be very important. I'm guessing we're going to be stuck in this area. I actually think we're going to be stuck in a little bit of a range until we get some data at 9 o'clock. So 30 minutes after open, we do get data, and then we'll have to see if there's a break up or break down. Remember, if we do get excited in either direction, we can pay attention to the VIX curling back up and things like that. But Apple, one thing here is earnings right around the corner. Be very, very cautious with this. If it's at lower levels, I could understand risk to reward perspective here. This is an earnings I could understand taking a chance on, but just remember, you don't know what the numbers are going to be. You don't know what they're going to say in their call, and that's affecting a lot of stocks. So this thing could just keep going down into oblivion after this earnings. So if you are going to play this, I would use an amount of money that you really don't care about. Something like, you know, even one contract would make sense. And if this is going to be a ballistic earnings or something, you will make plenty with one contract. Like, just use an amount if you really want to play it that you're willing to lose. Tesla, this guy, Dropping back off. Okay, just this guy dropping back off. What are we looking for? That test of 180.92 first. And then if you're part of the Patreon, we're paying attention to those weekly ranges. So if you want the weekly range for Tesla, it is outside of it as of right now, which tells you 68% chance to land down in this zone by the end of the week. But as you do break outside of it, you can use these levels as support to actually make the next move higher. So we're really paying attention to, yes, the 2-hour crossing over, but is that going to just rip away for a few days? We'll have to find out. Or is the 30-minute going to be able to turn back up? That's what we're going to pay attention to here on this channel. 30-minute right by the center line. So if we do use this as support right now, that could be it. And we could very well be seeing the next move higher at this point for Tesla. And maybe we get a divergence up towards our next sell zone up here towards 205. Amazon. This one just getting earnings. Remember, if it breaks through here, if it's able to close above that level, that's pretty bullish. You're breaking out of some structure. We talked about this in last night's YouTube video. Left head, right shoulder, even with this one pullback, it got you into this liquidity, and now we're seeing that move up. So we're breaking through this level. If we can hold up there, that would be a good sign for Amazon. It's chosen a direction as of right now. That's really all you can say. I mean, if this thing is just going to go higher and higher, what would we pay attention to? Well, at this point, we'd have to say maybe a daily chart, because the 2-hour looks like it's about to go positive. So actually on Amazon, it's one of the ones you probably want to pay attention if this daily MACD is able to roll up. Now that could be a roll up to create another point of divergence. So I'm just saying we could trade like water on this channel for a reason. We could see a few days of buying and then that's ripped away. So do not get overly bullish once we come above this high or once we test that high. NVIDIA, I know a lot of people paying attention to this. Remember, NVIDIA able to cross on this MACD, so any kind of dip in NVIDIA, I'm hoping to be brief. So what do I want to pay attention to if it's going to be brief? Well, the 30 minutes right by the center line, but you notice the downward price action as of the open today. So what are we paying attention to? That 2-hour rolling over negative territory is right below us, so we can see a further dip down. I'm still thinking that NVIDIA is one of the ones that's able to hold up a little bit better, just because it's decently high up on this MACD, and this is a good V shape here, right? Good buying again. And now what if we get another dip down to this zone? Remember, when we break out of a zone, we retest it, and then we go again. So this could be happening today. We see some dramatic selling, and then we just base out. Now, if we start to lose this zone, on like a 30-minute or something, and then we come back up and touch it, well, you might actually get a 30-minute divergence in this move, which also gives you a 2-hour divergence. So if you're going to see lower prices, you could actually see divergences at the same time on multiple time frames, which is a good sign, but we have to watch the price action and see if that's actually going to happen. As of right now, looking at a 2-hour, probably looking at a 1-hour would be good for this one, actually. Every once in a while, a 1-hour is good to look at. You could probably see this, get close to the center line, curl back up. Okay, get close to the center line, curl back up. Here's the next move. Here's the next move. We see it beat that high. That's what I would think is going on here for NVIDIA. AMD, not the best earnings, or at least the direction from earnings. I'm not even sure the numbers here. It looks like a little bit of a mixed bag, but the direction right now is down. Seeing that 2-hour curl over in the morning. What's going to happen from here? Most likely we're making that divergence, and we'll pay attention to that. What levels can I pay attention to for that divergence to be created? Well, we have the 200 below us. Look out for that. But pretty much anywhere in this zone is going to be pretty important, right? So we could even probably mark this off right now and just say, hey, this is the next little piece of liquidity in here, and it's a decent sized zone. So I just wanted to let you know, and that's where we got to bounce from, right? So we got to bounce from that zone. Now we're coming back into it. We created a divergence in that zone. Buyers are lurking here. Boom, we start to head up. Now that has to prove itself. If we start to lose the 200, lose this zone, we can start to retest things and head lower. We'll pay attention if that negative trend is continuing on the shorter time frames. Meta, this one here, starting to go lower after the earnings, right? Big dip after the earnings, and it broke our level of 453.08. So you have to retake that to fully get bullish again on Meta. But as of right now, what are we paying attention to? 30-minute. Right by the center line. So this is what we were saying right after the earnings, and everyone's saying, should I take calls? Should I take puts? What should I do? Well, you should be patient. Be patient in a market like this. The second dip will come if it's supposed to, right? In the price action, and your indicators will tell you that. And all you have to do is see a breakdown through this level. Okay, we can test this low down here. What if we make a brief little 30-minute divergence? Now, the thing about this is you have a lot of room here. So triple divergence is on the table for Meta, because of how big this move is, right? This is a big move down with a big move towards the center line. Now you can get this to dip lower, get some kind of pop, dip lower again, and wouldn't this be pretty nice if you get that to get nice and tight and then see some good news come out. So we'll pay attention to that for Meta. Going forward, looking at Microsoft, remember, this is the one that I was talking about, the 2-hour divergence, which could cause some positivity here. 2-hour divergences, yes, it's not on the MACD and RSI at the same time for the triple divergence, right? But you do have pretty much a multiple point divergence down here, but you do have a triple divergence down on the RSI below. So once that does move out of the way, you can see that. Triple divergence down there on the lows. So what's that telling me? Hey, this could be a double bottom, and we could actually start to buy up from here. Now, if we see selling in the market, we could come for a full touchdown in this area, but risk to reward here, especially if you're part of the Patreon and you know what's right above you here with the price, with the closing price from yesterday, guess what? It's a weekly range. So Microsoft is priced in, or at least expected to bounce from this level and remain in this area by the close on Friday. So keep that in mind. All right, Google. I'm going to read through the chat in a moment. Google, remember, this one here is outside its range as well. So the ones that are outside their range right now are telling you, hey, I might break to the upside. As we open, we can look at Google here. Look at the 30-minute right by positive territory. If that guy curls up, we could see some buying up from this area, okay? So if we want to curl up at any time, remember, 68% chance to land right up in here. Kind of a small range for this week for Google, so pay attention to that, right? But as of right now, it looks like we could see some buying up. If we're going to see something more dramatic, then this is just going to go down because you're pretty much in an area where selling piles on, right, below those weekly moving averages. Now, real quick, I just want to look at volatility, and as the open happens, it's fine. We can look at volatility here. 30-minute looks like it needs to back off, but what I want to just show you is a 5-minute for volatility, show you how that's by the center line. And if you really want to continue this upward move for volatility, you have to get that 5-minute to at least curl back up into positive territory, maybe with a strong move. So as the 5-minute backs off, we could actually see volatility come back in, but maybe a bounce early on this morning. 15-minute curling up, that's pretty much your next real sign that this pullback here is over, and that's going to go up to higher levels. Looking at that 1683, bad things. A lot of the time we like to fade moves above 1683 like we did over here. So that's why I'm paying attention to this level. But thank you guys so much for joining. Thank you guys for smashing that like button. We are going to be looking through a bunch of stocks today, opening up on the SPY. Remember, I did give you the monthly expected moves over on Patreon. You got those last night. I updated them this morning with IWM in. I literally said, make sure IWM monthly expected moves on your chart because it's new. And then I forgot to put it on the picture. So now it's updated. You can get IWM monthly expected moves over on Patreon. But we're starting to open up. What's happening here? Well, the 2 hours touching negative, right? It's touching negative. So the overall direction here is down as of right now. This is right now would be a continuation of the trend that is going on the 2 hour, which as of right now, yeah, it was positive for a brief moment, but it's starting to roll negative. So you would say downside is the most likely scenario from here. How you guys doing? Esker, Jeremiah, J. Cole, Dave, Esker, again, Inks, Marina, welcome, Mark, hey, Matthew, hey, JS, Carlos, what's up? Lil AR15's back. Donald Perry, good morning. Get your coffee ready because we got a big day going on. We got a lot of data, a lot of rocks to move around, guys. Trading like water today is going to be the best thing we can do. So I know it's crazy, but the 5-minute and the 30-minute is a problem here because they're both already oversold. So we might be getting some kind of bounce to get us out of oversold conditions, even on a 30-minute, just for a moment here. And then we see that rip down. Remember, we do get data in about 30 minutes. So in about 30 minutes, we get a data drop. So we may just move sideways until that data actually does drop. Yes, get lots of Starbucks, guys. They kind of need it after some earnings. And then the other earnings that was interesting was SMCI. This thing really dropping off here. Wanted to look at this on the 2 hour. Remember this one here, we were talking about that divergence being created in this little zone here. Maybe you're able to hold up just at these wicks. But as of right now, that direction is pretty chosen, right? And we're going to continue that negative trend. But you see, we could form some kind of double bottom. I just want you to be open to this type of thing happening because this 2 hours still by that center line. This was quick selling. If this is going to be something very dramatic, you're just going to see this thing take off. It's just really going to take off, and we're not going to get a real big divergence down here on the RSI. So as of right now, it looks like that direction's down. And the other thing I was paying attention to when I saw SMCI's earnings after hours was Bitcoin, and Bitcoin dropping pretty heavy here. pretty heavy drop for Bitcoin, going down, what, 5.5% today, and then another, what, 5% yesterday. So pretty much 10%. I mean, probably more than 10% down over the last 2 days, right? So about at the low here, 12.5%. So Bitcoin choosing a direction here, not able to solidify upside, which kind of makes you lean towards this zone right here. So if we start to lose this level and we're not able to buy back up by end of day, well, we lost everything here. We broke through this bullish flag that seemed to be forming. Now we can head to the next source of liquidity right in this area. And what happens to be there? Oh, it's the 200. So we very well might be getting a test of the 200. I think that's really where I'm leaning towards. If we close the day down like this, you'd say, okay, well, we're going to cut through this like butter, go to the next source of liquidity. If that's not enough, we head a little bit below that, going down to something like 48,000. Yeah, and Trading Fraternity is pretty good. I mean, I like Trading Fraternity. I've listened to him before. He says some good stuff. I really like to hear what he has to say a lot about Jerome Powell and the reaction in real time. He's very, very good, but we do things a little bit differently, and I totally understand. Totally understand, Esker. I am very, very technical side, and then I do pay attention to the fundamentals at the same time, just not as much, because a lot of the time I do believe that the charts actually lead the fundamentals at the end of the day. I believe that if you pay attention, you can pay attention to times where the fundamentals can really affect you. And if they're not going to, you just trade, like water, and you say, okay, but if this curls up, then I'm back in the move, and that wasn't the moment. So that's kind of how I treat it. Want you more for positioning and entries because he's a top ticker. He don't care about position and entry. Okay, yeah, so that makes more sense. And I don't really pay attention to how he trades. Just every once in a while I'd tune in and watch him during Jerome Powell. But he does give some great info about rates and how they react and how it affects the market. Like, he really talks about it. And he breaks down what Jerome Powell says very well, I would say. I think he's very good at picking out the little details that are actually bullish and bearish for the market while he's talking. Crazy thing I learned yesterday. Apparently the NSA proposed crypto. Hold on one sec. Good morning. Let me read through some of these real quick. I prefer to buy stocks, calls. Let's get off of Bitcoin for a moment. Just see what the SPY's doing this morning. Also, I just want to point out the little pop in the 10-year yield before some data. The dollar able to pretty much go negative a little bit here, right? Go not go into negative territory or anything, but able to pull back a little bit, really showing some red here as the stock market opened up a little bit red. So that's interesting. It looks like some people buying into the move as of right now. You'd expect a little bit of that, right? We're always going to get a little bit, but what you'd really think is, well, the dollar broke out, so most likely the dollar is going to head higher from here with that breakout, and it really looks like on the 2 hour the SPY wants to do the same. But we could drift for a moment here and then see if that selling piles on. Why is volatility lagging? It's probably because we have so much data this week, so many earnings, so much data, Fennel. It really is. When you have an environment where you get news the next day, people will hold certain stocks, like Apple might not see a full breakdown here. Why? Because people might still be bullish on Apple before the earnings. The thing is, we don't trade around earnings. We just pay attention to what the stock's telling us. Look at that. Sell zone, drift down, curls over on the 30-minute MACD, dramatic pullback here into the gap fill. All of this makes sense. Now you're looking for, can we retake this? If we can retake this, all of this might be bought back. Literally, you retake 171. Pretty much you retake 171 and boom, all this is most likely taken back. But if you start to break below 169.50, like dramatically, right, we break below that and close below that, then you're saying, okay, this can really ramp up. Because this isn't, this isn't a gap, but this isn't the most structured level here, right? We can cut through this as well. So I just want to point that out. But 30-minute here looks like it could keep going down. And TLT is up. Yeah, that's what I was mainly mentioning. The yields are down. TLT up, right? 30-minute curling up. Positive territory is what I would pay attention to for TLT. And remember, this has some stuff behind it. It's got some 2-hour divergences behind it and things like that. So that can roll up the daily here. But we do get data in 20 minutes. So 20 minutes, you're going to see this start to get affected, and we'll have to see. Let's take a peek at that data, see what we should expect from the data this morning. Volatility really dropping off. I have that on my right screen. I'm just going to see if that 5 minutes able to curl up. It's getting oversold as of right now. The data today, we're getting ISM manufacturing PMI previously at 50.3, supposed to come in pretty much at 50. So if we see a tick up in that, that won't be good for TLT. And then JOLTS job openings, last one, 8.756 million, expected to pretty much come in at 8.7, which would be a downtick in the job openings, which would tell you that more labor going in, which is pretty much another inflationary thing. It encourages strong economy. What they want to see are, weirdly enough, they want to see a little tick up in unemployment. They're still baiting people, I think, with this soft landing, but the only way that the inflation comes down is, unfortunately, unemployment to go up. And so from here, you would say a higher number in job openings would actually be some good news, and some lower numbers would be bad news. So you have to pay attention if this is coming above 8.7 today, but it probably needs to be a little bit more dramatic than 8.756 to really convince people out of the selling that's been going on, right? The selling that's been going on, it probably needs to be some good news there. All right, I'm just going to click through on my other screen before we get that data. I'm just going to check where we're at with these expected moves. And if you do need the monthlies, remember, I can pull those up for you. Just make sure to plug that into the chat. I might even make a chat bot that allows you to get the expected moves, but then I'd have to update it every night. So for the Qs, we're heading towards that weekly expected move. For the SPY, we're heading towards the weekly expected move. We're just not there yet. IWM, we're a little bit higher up. We're holding up actually at support here. So something to pull up right now is IWM. IWM right here is holding up a little bit better at this resistance or this support here. So we're able to do something like this, take it back. Well, we broke it. Now we retested it. So we weren't able to fully take it back. We actually just retested it and broke down. So I thought this was going to hold up maybe a little bit better. Didn't happen. You see the 30-minute divergence here. Actually a great trade. We're going to be paying closer attention to IWM because this is a great trade. Look at that entry point right here at 199.50. Over the next day, you see it head down all the way to 195.80. Okay, that point, that move right there is probably enough to make 80 to 100% on in just a day, which is very, very cool. So I'll be paying closer attention to IWM. But it wasn't outside of a weekly expected move. This was pretty much the middle of the range, right? Because it was a Monday. So paying attention to that was good. Let me click through here, looking at Apple, trying to hold up, able to cross as of right now on the 2-hour MACD. Okay, so Apple on the 2-hour actually able to cross over with this bar, but is that going to, lead to anything more? Because right now you are very much so, you're in positive territory. Look how high up you are in positive territory. So anytime this wants to curl up, you're most likely getting the next move higher. Now be careful around earnings, but if you do see this curl up, risk to reward perspective, it's been beat down for a very, very long time. You could use an amount of money that's not going to hurt your portfolio. Take a chance on it, make, $500 or something like that. It would be a great little trade to make. Not saying you should or anything. I'm just saying I don't trade around earnings. I probably won't play this, but I could understand the thinking here. Let's look over at Tesla. Tesla, remember, this one is outside of its weekly expected move to the upside. We want to pay attention, especially if this 2-hour crosses, hey, that confirmation of a little bit of more of a pullback. But as of right now, what are we doing? We're testing that level, 180.92. We told you that's important. We test that in the morning. If we can curl up from here, you could see positivity for quite some time. So I'm not saying it has to play out the way that we think. We could be seeing some kind of buy up and then that rug pulled by the end of the week, especially if Apple makes an upward move as well. So we'll just be paying attention, following the charts, and we'll be just fine. Amazon trying to fade this move a little bit, but able to turn back up on a 2-hour chart. Okay, so Amazon able to turn back up. This would be a 30-minute play. Look at the 30-minute crossing that center line on the RSI. Remember, the direction is chosen as of right now. As long as we don't get bad news in about 20 minutes, Amazon's direction looks like it's up from here. Watch out, because Amazon actually could create, ad blocker. Amazon actually could create some kind of divergence at this level, right? So pay attention, because we could see some kind of divergence up here. That means more selling is actually going to be coming by the end of the day. So pay attention to that for Amazon. NVIDIA looking forward. NVIDIA trying to buy back up as of right now. Trying. What did it do? Well, it pretty much went down to that zone. It just barely missed it. Maybe we could extend that zone a little bit. We'll have to look back, but looks like we wanted to go and touch that zone, and that's what's happening as of right now. If we curl up on this MACD, 30-minute curl up, looks like that move will continue. Watch out for the high, making a new high. Some kind of divergence up here on a 30-minute would be worrisome at this point, because you'd get closer to negative territory, starting a negative trend on the 30-minute. So if we go do this, it's looking more like we're going to end up down here later on in the week. But if we do something like this and take some more time and then curl back up, this could be a little bit better. So paying attention, I would like the 2 hour to beat down a little bit more than this. AMD, big move with the earnings, right? Big move down into our zone. It's a big zone, right? It's a big zone, but it's a zone to pay attention to. Okay, so what's happening here? Well, it's testing the low. It tested the low, now it's buying back up. So what could we pay attention to? A 2 hour. 2 hour, first of all, able to curl over. Most likely more downside is coming, right? More downside is coming because you're in this zone, unless we can break out of this. If we can break out of this and take back those moving averages, okay, curl up, positive territory. But right now it looks like 2 hour might want to break down for a little bit longer, giving us a better looking 2 hour divergence, right? Something like this would be a little bit better. It'd be a little bit cleaner. But if you create a point of divergence that's all the way up in positive territory, that's kind of a good thing. Meta not able to fully break down this morning. 2 hour just now able to cross up, but the 30-minute still looking wonky here. It looks like we want to head lower. So I want to check my weekly expected moves, and the weekly expected moves right below you. So I just want to tell you that this meta move, I think we mentioned it in the video last night, could be brief. We could see something like this happen very quickly. So be cautious to the downside once we hit those lower levels. Microsoft, this one's still trying to double bottom at this point, looking like 1% up. That is a good move there. So I want to pay attention to Microsoft just because I had some plays on this. I was like, hey, I'm going to take a chance on this guy here. I see the 30-minute. I see the divergence, the flatness here, and I know there's a triple divergence on the 2 hour, or at least a multiple point one, and I'm outside the weekly range. So this is all adding up to, hey, this actually has the risk to reward standpoint of being higher from here. So I'm going to take a play on that. That's my style of thinking here. Google outside of its range right now, 30-minute looks like it might want to curl up on this MACD. This could be it, guys. This could be all the pullback that we get, and I want you to be open to that, and we can pay attention to these individual stocks. If they're able to, NVIDIA able to curl up, Google able to curl up, Microsoft able to curl up and go positive here, we're most likely going to see an upward move. Okay, so I want to pay attention to that. But there's so many rocks that I have to be on a swivel, right? I have to be ready to go either way. I have to be ready for a sudden drop, especially when volatility is rising. And let's go take another look at volatility. That thing trying to climb back up. We remember I was talking about the 5-minute. I'm like, well, if you want to keep it basic, well, the short time frames, they need to go positive. They need to be making moves. If my MACD will load, they need to be making more moves up into positive territory. And you see this type of thing again, right? We see a pop in volatility. Now we get a divergence here, and then we get another little one here, and then boom, maybe that's it for volatility. So we're paying attention to that, but anytime this 2 hour curls down is pretty much when the next move higher is coming. And I think that this will have to make a divergence in the future. I think we're going to get some kind of pop here that leads to a drift down, and then we keep going down for quite some time. We'll pay attention at these levels, but that's just what I think is going to happen. If you're paying attention to the crash signals, technically, you're looking like the VIX is about to pop off for good because the crash signal is here. You have the 50 and the 200 down here just touching right now, looking like they want to cross. And this is a crash signal. You can't even see the 50 right here because it's right on that 200. That can get above it. We use that as support going forward. It could mean some bad things for volatility. Well, it could mean some good things for volatility, some bad things for the market, right? So we're paying attention to that as well. But today, what we can do, we can only control our buying and selling. We're in control of the buttons here. So we want to pay attention to any downside that could be forming right now. And it looks like downside is the direction. All right, guys, we get data in a few minutes here. So how you doing this morning? What do you think Powell will say? I don't think Powell changes his tone at all. He tries to come off very calm, very calm, right? He's calm and he says some bearish things. He gets away with saying a lot of things that would crash markets in the past, crash different kind of markets. Like when you just flat out tell people we're expecting some banks to fail. I'm like, dang, he's literally saying we expect some banks to fail, but we could also get a soft landing. It confuses the average retail trader, and therefore something like trade like water is very good, right? We just pay attention overall to the price action. We hear what he says. We're keeping in mind some banks will fail, some banks will fail, some banks will fail, right? We're keeping that in mind, but the price action isn't going to react off of that fundamental news. That's why I believe in charts more than the fundamentals, but I keep them in mind. I know that once I see a daily divergence or a weekly divergence or something like that, and you have someone like Jay Powell telling you, hey, banks are going to fail, well, that ultimately leads you to believe like, hey, this is probably the signal I'm going to see at a top. You need to check yourself. That was so funny. We're gonna have World War III's on the horizon, but soft landing looks likely. Like it just doesn't add up. And I think you might have said it pretty well, Brian. There, Powell is meant to confuse the f out of us, and I think my belief is, and you guys know what my belief is, it's the market should do what the market's going to do, and we probably shouldn't even get this info from this guy, because all we have to do is look at the data and know what should happen, and then we should react based on that data. Put the market in control of the people, not necessarily in control by a few people in suits. Yo, Capture This, how's it going? Capture This, were you able to start that course yet? I didn't get any emails from you, but I want to make sure everything's going well for you on that course. I bought the Bucks puts at 0.19. Sold at 450. Hell yeah. Dude, that's what's up. I mean, that's fucking lucky as hell. Like, I'm going to be honest with you. Like, it's earnings, but hey, I'll give you your congrats. That's so awesome. You'll just say we depend on data, blah, blah. Yeah, well, when you depend on data and you just ignore the fact that CPI ticked up, PMI ticked up, it's kind of like, are you dependent on the data? You're not doing anything. They're not doing anything, really. They're holding, well, technically by not doing anything, they're doing something because it's holding them higher for longer. Most likely we're going to hear higher for longer. What we really want to pay attention to is if he talks about any kind of rate cuts still coming before December. Right now it's only priced in that December has like a 40% chance of having a rate cut as of right now. That's it. So if he's going to still say there's going to be rate cuts in 2024, people might see that as bullish. If he's going to say we're going to cut before December, that would be bullish, in my opinion. Pay attention to QT. So you think they're going to tighten more or no? Would love to see a video of how you set up your trading view and your charts and maneuver one day. We might do that sometime. I might do like a little side video of like what I pay attention to. It's just hard to do with the live and then having to do an update at night and things like that. So that would be something easier to do on a Saturday, but that's not, that's kind of like someone telling you the analysis after it breaks down, right? We try to tell you stuff before it happens. Like up here, the 2-hour rolling over is what we were saying, even with this bar right here. Even before this move, we were looking for something in the sell zone, the 2-hour rolling down, right? So making a video like that on a Saturday would be like, I'm just looking at charts and telling you what happened, not what's going to happen in real time. But pretty much if I would have just stayed live for an hour, you had that. I took shorts here. Now it pulls down, so. Oh, what your setup looks like? Yeah, you can get that on you can actually get my setup pretty much on the course. So if you want to learn this stuff, it's really good not to just have the indicators and things like that. You have to know how to use them. But if you want it, literally, you can just like screenshot all this. Just screenshot all this, and that's pretty much how it's set up. I mean, I don't think the settings are changed around too much. Like, I do not. I mean, I want you to be successful, so I'm not here hiding indicators trying to sell you my own. I want you to be able to use the free indicators that I use in order to make money, and that's why I have a course, but that's it. Hood holding 16.5 like an army, refusing to go down. Yeah, let's go take a look at that. That'll be fun. The hood. Let's go look at the hood. Oh, okay. You actually have 2-hour divergence forming right now. I wonder if we'll see some kind of pop in this. You have earnings around the corner, but that means, hey, we can play this until then. Looks like a 2-hour divergence is here as of right now. If you can curl up, look how close it is to positive territory. There's actually an opportunity here, I think, to be a little bit contrarian on the price action. If we can curl up on this 2-hour, you will probably see a strong move up to like 18. Now, that's not that big in the grand scheme of things, but you can make some good money out of plays like this. And yeah, that's kind of the thing. What if we just move sideways or something like that? Or we just head down until that FOMC? I think right now we're really paying attention to 7 minutes from now. I think 7 minutes from now is very important. One thing that I wanted to show you guys is I actually put the weekly expected move for the SPX on the SPX 500, right? So the futures here. And I just wanted to show you guys how we came down into the weekly expected move last night. or at 4 a.m., we actually came down in the weekly expected move, and what happened? Oh, we actually dinked our head on it, and we're able to buy up. So this is very interesting from here, because we've already tested this level now technically for the SPX 500 here, and now we're seeing this start to buy back up. So this will be interesting if we can see some buying from this area, as we did technically test the weekly expected move overnight. I just wanted to point that out. You guys, someone was saying, oh, why don't you pay attention to futures? I do. I pay attention to futures mainly for confirmations or my, trading strategy for the next day. Oh, I'm seeing it test this level. So I have to be a little bit cautious of some kind of bounce from this area. Pretty much I'm just looking for any time a 2-hour wants to curl up and go positive. I know that, hey, that's how I'd get screwed out of my shorts, so I'm not going to do anything there. But I just thought that was very interesting. We actually tested the weekly expected move right below us last night, pretty much at 4 a.m. this morning, so today. If we head down now, I think we end up up due to, well, one thing that could happen from here on like a 15-minute or something like that is, what if we get, there's a few things that I think could happen with the fundamental side, because we get a lot of data and we get a lot of data from the Fed, and we get Jerome Powell talking. What if we come down in this area, we get some kind of bounce with Jerome Powell, and then that drops off, say on Thursday at some point, and then we see that buying back up? Because as of right now, or what if we do this, and then after that data is released in about 5 minutes, we see some kind of bounce before Jerome Powell, and then that keeps going. So this is a few scenarios I'm paying attention to, but I just want to see what Fed Jerome Powell says. I'm more caring about the macro side of things than anything else, just because that gives me maybe a timeline. It gives me maybe a timeline, and it gives me maybe some insight into if this daily MACD is going to roll up and we're going to see a better high than this one, which is something I'm leaning towards. I still think we're going to go up and test that level on the Qs of 438.28, right? We don't have that marked off. I probably should mark that off again, but let me do that real quick. It's just really close to that weekly expected move, so I took it down, but I'm going to leave it up, put it in white here so you can see it. But right now, that 438.28 is where I think we really need to test. I think that's the level we need to get to fully be like, okay, this is a lower high, or this is going to go higher. But notice the monthly expected move here, 447.85. So it is within this level. So if we see any buying up towards this area, remember 68% chance to land down. So if we do make a high up here, it might be brief, and we might get a sell in May and go away. Primarily from trading, I feel like I'm close, but I lose. Yeah, I do. I make pretty good. I mean, I'm working on a lot of stuff, and overall, we're just like, we've done a lot of things like move around and start the YouTube channel and things like that. But overall, life's good. We're able to sustain, you know what I mean? And then pretty much I always tell people, like, people think like, oh, I'm some rich guy or something like that. No, I'm someone who's just building like you guys. And I started with about $10,000, built that to 20, built from there over the last 2 years. And now I'm looking pretty good. I'm able to break down stocks very, very well. And that's the main thing, is being able to be consistent. And that's what I am. I still move quickly, and I take profit a lot earlier than probably a lot of other position traders. But that's just because I believe that the fastest way to become a millionaire, the fastest way to make money in the stock market, is the slow way. I've had minimal movement, but hoping I'm wrong. Pretty much with this event, you're going to see volatility. So you really have to see what happens the next day, most likely. Most likely during the event, you're going to see, some people reading into his info and all this stuff. It's not going to be that big, by the way, but it will be like this, like this, like this, like this. Well, not like that. But we could end up going sporadic like this, and then overnight, you'll see a lot of things base out. Maybe we have to pay attention to the futures, and then we get a further downside move going on into Wednesday or Thursday. And then after hours on Thursday, we get all those earnings. So that could be what's happening here. Yeah, you're fair and balanced, no emotional trading. No, we're just playing the signals. And I think that's the big thing here is like, I know that when I first started this channel, a lot of people called me a robot based on how I talk. And I'm like, well, yeah, that's like a good thing, I think. Like, if you look at charts and you're just like unbiased and you're just like, oh, chart crossed over on 2 hour and I have 30-minute divergence pullback coming, that saves you a lot of money. Yeah, there's secretly just an AI chip in here. But whose company is it? Buy that stock. I'm just saying. If they put an AI chip in my head, you know you should buy that stock. CCL. We can take a look at something different real quick. We haven't looked at this too much. Carnival dropping off here, so something I would be paying attention to. With the look of this, it looks like a 1 hour. Getting close to the center line could curl up. Maybe it is a 30-minute. Yeah, 30-minute giving you a very, very subtle divergence right here, telling you downside potential is there. The 2 hour could have crossed over. Okay, so this right here is telling you the 2 hour could cross over. What is this right here? That's probably sneaky Wall Street taking out some levels here, right? This is probably, stops at this level. Okay, so if I take a short and I put a stop above this level because of the signal, well, now this just took out my stop and then immediately goes back down, doesn't allow me to get the same position, and then boom, it just starts to head lower. So I would expect that this wick here was probably on a 5-minute bar. It might be a little longer than that, but watch this, look at that. So at that point, that's the sneakiness of the market here, coming up on a 5-minute bar just for a brief moment, boom, wicks out, and then now all of these stops are taken out. So that's overall what they like to do to you. That's why sometimes when I take a play, I'll literally be not even putting a stop in, just watching it and being my own stop kind of deal. We know. I work with Elon. That's why I'm so positive on Tesla stock, I have a strange feeling Apple earnings is going to send us back to all-time high. I'm not gonna lie, your mom's basement. I kind of have the same feeling because people are so negative on it. But does that mean I'm gonna trade it? I might put like an amount of money I don't care, like something like $500, $1,000 behind it, just buy a few contracts, nothing crazy. And then if it does see a crazy move, boom, that prints. So gold and volatility going. Remember gold. This thing actually breaking down for a moment. Now you have a 30-minute divergence. Okay, you have 30-minute divergence. What does that like to do? Now, this is a big one. It's still far away from positive territory, so you do have the opportunity to maybe do a double bottom or something like that. But this likes to roll up the 2 hour. This kind of signal down here, it does like to roll up that 2 hour chart. So we probably need to pull up the 2 hour and see if we're seeing anything. Remember, you just have flatness of the RSI. So this right now could technically be a pullback. You really want a better looking divergence than that. You don't necessarily have it on the 2 hour. You might have it on the hourly here though. So what I would be doing here is kind of just making some trend lines, right? We're going to make some trend lines, maybe take this high up here, go like this. Okay, now we know, hey, the direction for this, if we want to go up from here, could be some kind of break to the upside, the 2 hour curling up. By the time it breaks this, if you notice it's far away from positive territory, it's probably going to break this. By this moment right here, it will be going positive, and you have the next upward move. But as of right now, it looks like we're going to see something like this, and then we'll get that breakout, in my opinion. Remember, just pay attention, though, because if that 2 hour curls up, probably another positive move coming. Just look for that. Make sure it's not doing anything like this. You need some strong buying in this move. I just like to look at this one. It's something I've followed for a long time, and the chart analysis is going to be the same, just pretty much different numbers. So I just like GLD. That's what I've normally traded. I mean, we could do like you could literally do like GC what. Boom. You can do something like this. Look, you're seeing the same thing. I mean, now the 2 hour here actually does have the divergence. It gives you more time in that, but 2 hour divergence here is something to pay attention to, but it's pretty much trading the futures. So now you see, hey, 2 hour divergence there, 30-minute divergence there, but that 30 minutes pretty far. The 2 hour divergence here pretty far. So you do still have the opportunity to do something like this and then see a stronger base to really want to see that big move up. So yeah, the 2 hour crossing up, but this is pretty much a 30-minute. What if this happens and then we see that move up? This would be a better signal for me. This one here, I normally would not take. And if anyone sees anything crazy happen, let me know. I think something to pay attention to. I know it's a big time frame, but the 4 hour, if that can cross down, that would be a pretty good confirmation that we're going to test this low because you're in negative territory. So negative territory, if we cross down on a 4 hour, it looks like test this low, make a new one. I think that's a good signal to pay attention to. And then look if that's brief. PMI came out. All right, so we got to pay attention to the data. I got distracted for a moment, but we're looking at the data real quick. PMI coming in at 49.2, and the job openings coming in lower. Okay, so job openings coming in lower. That would tell you that the jobs data is a little bit strong here. We got an update to 8.8 on the last one, but 8.488. If people read into the PMI here, we actually could see a slight upward move from that, but at the same time, you got mixed bag. So now you have another confusing day, and you have to wait for the next data point because you did get mixed bag here. So we'll see if people read into the good news from the PMI, or the actually good news from the PMI and the good news from job openings, technically. Job openings going down might be seen as good news unless people still want that growing economy. That's kind of the weird place we're in right now. What's up, my buddy? Been a few days. Hey, yeah, that's awesome. At least you're back. You know what I mean? Apple's moving. It's not doing anything crazy. Remember, it still has to get all the way above 171. Has to close above there for the next big move up, probably. So you're just still in that range. Yeah, lower than consensus. So less job openings could be seen as more jobs, like less job openings. God dang it. The thing is, you read into so much data that when it comes out, I have to like think about it. I gotta like write out my thoughts real quick. That's what this market's doing to me right now. I literally have to like write it out. And it depends how people read into it as well. Like dead app, nobody uses it anymore. Hey, I'm with you on that, DD. What kind of play am I looking for setting up? I think if this sets up, I'm going to be very, very happy if a 2-hour divergence sets up, or a 4-hour divergence. If this can set up, or even just like come down to lower levels like this and then base out, I'd be pretty happy. I think that this would be a reason to take a trade at this point, or this would be a reason to take a trade at this point, and you'd maybe see some upside throughout this move. But you got to be cautious around earnings. So am I going to bet my house on this? No. I'm going to probably use an amount of money that, hey, I'm willing to lose a little bit, right? I'm willing to lose 50% of, or something like that, because we could just see bad earnings and then we're in a bad area. If you see bad earnings down here, hello, you can go down towards that monthly expected move very, very quickly. So you bet your butt. I'm going to keep my hedge. So I don't have any upside actually, but I'm going to treat my shorts as of right now. I'm going to sell some of those out soon and then just say, okay, I'm going to keep maybe my volatility play just in case those earnings are bad. I'm literally like, I don't know why my brain, I just can't think straight around jolts, and I've done it so many times. Okay, yeah, I think I had it right the first one. It's a mixed bag. Google seeing a slight move upward here. Something to pay attention to right now. Google able to bounce as of right now. We'll have to see if that holds. Let me go find my scroll thing's broken. I probably need a new mouse, honestly. But this here, remember, it's outside of that range. 30-minute curls up, positive territory. Big move could be coming for Google actually right now. We'll have to see if that's able to cross, but you have the RSI getting above 50 right now, getting above the center line just a little bit. And then you have the MACD, the lagging indicator, waiting for a little bit more confirmation here. So once you take back all these moving averages, it really looks like we're going to test the higher, go make a new one for Google. Just pay attention to the gap as well. We do have a gap above us. And with that, I want to see what Microsoft's doing. Not able to curl up as of right now. So this 30-minute curling up would be some kind of maybe, like it probably would be a confirmation that we're going to see this double bottom try to play out. That's the thing. So I'd pay attention to the reaction up to this level. What could we get from this level? Well, still with this, I mean, it technically didn't take out the low. It did take out the closing bar, though. So I don't know if you'd say head and shoulders, really. You'd more so say just double bottom. If we can react to this level and break through, that would be a good sign that that's going to play out. So the level to pay attention to, 412.50, 412 pretty much. Closing above there would be a good thing, and maybe confirming this as some kind of double bottom. AMD still reaching down a little bit here, able to kind of a fight between the bulls and the bears in this zone, which is what we kind of expect. Looking for that 2 hour to prove anything here as of right now. Meta seeing a nice upward move, 1% up from the close yesterday, but we're still in negative territory. Anytime this wants to roll over, we can see that start to head down from here. So that's something to pay attention to going forward. We're just going to go for another few minutes here, pretty much like 20 more minutes here, and then we will be live later on today. Make sure to smash that like button. And if you want to learn before we actually get into Jerome Powell, you could probably take a few sections of the course today. You really could. If you go get it right now, it's $149 for the next, I think it ends on Saturday. Okay, so we'll probably be making that a little bit more expensive on Saturday, so make sure to grab that. Learn some stuff, and then after Jerome Powell talks, maybe we can see some signals proving, and then you can start to trade like water like we do here. All right, let me click through on my other charts here. My 2 hour direction still down, able to go negative. Q's looking pretty weak here, wanting to test that weekly expected move. We're seeing that continue to drop. The IWM faded the entire move up that it tried to make, and now it is looking like it's about to go negative on a 2 hour. Apple, yeah, confirmed the downside. We haven't seen a break up or a breakdown from this important little area we're in, so looking for a break there. Tesla, still outside of its weekly expected move, but it's reaching for the top of it, so we're going to have to see if Tesla uses the top as support or if it breaks back below it. Amazon fading that move, not able to confirm above the previous high. That's big news there. NVIDIA actually breaking down pretty well here, 3.58. We probably need to go look at NVIDIA for a brief moment here. Just looking at this 2 hour, look where it is. Well, this is a 30 minute, sorry. The 2 hour, where is it? It's inside this area. So now we're just now starting to cross over. We have the weekly range that's in this area, right? We have a weekly range in this area. If you're part of Patreon, you have that on your chart right now, and you know, hey, this is heading lower into that area. So therefore, I would know, hey, if we see a breakdown, a break back up is pretty likely here. We're still only on Wednesday, but that is a dramatic sell-off. Remember, when you get below that level, selling can really ramp up, and maybe something like this does happen. It can happen still with NVIDIA, even with a small range, so just be careful. But if you see the signal starting to prove more upside, that's when you react. Meta, I'm looking at that, trying to hold up. Microsoft, this one trying to confirm that double bottom pretty much right now on the 2 hour and the 30 minutes, so that's something to pay attention to. But Google looks like it wants to curl up for another move higher, but it's struggling just a tiny bit. Let's look at TLT with that news. TLT tried to make the upward move, and now it's kind of stalling out. Maybe TLT wants to wait for what the Fed interest rate decision is. Volatility, I'm going to take a peek at that real quick, looking at my shorter time frames. I just want to see if that 15-minute can confirm another move higher, or if the 5-minute is at least going positive. And right now the 5-minute is trying to attempt to go into positive territory. So if we're going to see a further sell-off, it might actually come right now with that pop in volatility. Paying very close attention to the volatility here, but not seeing any signals that say like this has to fade. I mean, the 30-minute crossed over. 1 hour hasn't crossed. Really, when that 2 hour crosses back down is the big signal for volatility to where we might actually see buying up in the market. So right now, pointing down still. We have to see the reactions from the weekly and the daily expected moves. No one's buying after that big dip. Not till we get more info, right? Not till we get more info. Oh, that's what, okay. I finally got it right in my head. You want higher job openings. So the fact that we actually came in lower than that is bad news for the market. because that means more people in the labor force, less job openings, less layoffs, less everything. That would be deflationary. So that means inflation still can be high. So really, you'd expect TLT to break down. NVIDIA has supported 820. I'm just going to pull it up on my other screen so I can take a peek at what you guys are talking about. Yeah, 820 would be a level to pay attention to. I mean, I think 820 is even in our zone on my other charts here. Yeah, pretty much the bottom of our zone is 820, 821. Yeah, 820 is pretty much the bottom of our zone here, so that makes sense. I was just looking at it over here. I don't have those zones on my other chart. They're trying. Things are trying to buy back up, man. They're trying. Funnies. Now, this is just one leg down as of right now. We could see some kind of, ABC pattern build over the next over the next 24 hours. We could see this drift down, see some buying up, and then by end of day, we end up lower tomorrow. And then we'll have to see if we're going to lower levels to give us some better structure, or if we're curling up on some 2 hours. We'll have to see with that as well. But right now, I think we have a good shot to try to consolidate a little bit. I think consolidation would make sense before a big event. Then we see what happens with the big event. We choose the direction in the next day, and then we could head lower. So pretty much for the SPY here, just looking at the 30-minute, I wanted to pretty much show you guys how this could work out. As of right now, what I'm leaning towards is some kind of consolidation, right? Maybe we just go sideways before that earnings and we allow this to kind of drift up like this and then curl back down. A 30-minute divergence at the same time would be great. But we also could get that positivity to come in, and then that fades by end of day. You get kind of an indecision bar, right? Looks kind of like a T, but indecision bar would make sense for today, and then we get a direction going on into tomorrow. That would make some sense, but that's just, we still react based on the price action. End of day is going to be very, very important. Tomorrow we get some auctions as well. So 4-week bill auction, 8-week bill auction. We get the mortgage rates. We get export import. So there is some news tomorrow. Plus, people are going to be amped with the earnings. Rolls. Non-farm payroll is expected to come down from the previous. So an unemployment rate 3.8. If that's able to, it'll be interesting to see how people react to unemployment rate. And then the services PMI is supposed to actually tick up. Oh, crap. It's supposed to tick up. That's not good. Check the Dow. We can check the Dow real quick. Gold, just pay attention if it's confirming. Ooh, we got divergence here on the Dow already for the 30-minute. So this is something to pay attention. Remember, we look at multiple things at the same time. If the Dow is saying that it could create this, pay attention if this crosses. The short side might be limited here. Right, the short side might be a little limited here if we're going to see the Dow make that move up from this area with this divergence. So pay attention to this. This is very good. Thank you for bringing it to our attention. 30-minute looks like it could curl up. What does that do? It likes to curl up the 2-hour. And what's up with the 2-hour right now? Well, it's right by positive territory. So we actually could be getting some kind of big move up from here. Even with these lows, we're trying really hard to base out. Watch out for this 30-minute to curl up into positive territory. Yeah, so SPY bouncing. And just note that this could be as low as we go. So if we want to curl up on this 30-minute and just keep reacting up from here, okay, that makes some sense. But I would expect us to get some volatility, before not before, but during the FOMC, during the Fed interest rate decision and that speech, we could see some volatility. We really want to wait for a direction here. But it does look like the Dow is kind of telling you, hey, I'm setting something up here. So be very careful because the Dow could make that upward move. That might be the signal that we want to pay attention to. Maybe that's just a bounce to head lower. Maybe we want to do a 15-minute curl up and curl down. We'll have to see. But Dow telling you, hey, looks like the downside is a little bit limited as of right now. So in that moment, when I see something like that, what am I doing? Well, I'm cleaning up house a little bit. I'm just going through and being like, okay, what can I get rid of and what things can I hold on to? So I can still hold on to my volatility play probably. And I just want to pay attention to how that looks over the next few minutes here. Now, going forward today, just remember, we're going to be going for another like 10 minutes here, looking around at some stocks. We're going to do a full breakdown as of right now. And I know we've broken down stocks like over and over and over again, but it's just very good to be on our toes here as we are seeing this try to base out. Remember, the 30-minute is very oversold. So the likelihood of some kind of bounce right now is there. But is that bounce going to bring us back up and we're just going to fully recover? We'll have to see. Right now, it's not looking like a full recovery could happen. We probably need to head lower, but that doesn't mean, I can't bounce like this and then head back down. So I just pay attention to that, but I'm cleaning up a little bit, just keeping a couple hedges in there. Not necessarily taking any upside just yet. Small play on Microsoft, like one contract for fun, but that's it. Okay, so let's take a look at all this stuff real quick. The SPY heading down to lower levels real quick, just noticing that the 30-minute very, very cooked here. Okay, you got a cooked 30-minute. So that's something to pay attention to. We could get some kind of drift upward and then drop back down. But right now, the 30-minute pretty cooked. Something that someone did bring to our attention was the Dow. I like this a lot. Thank you for bringing it to our attention. You do have a 30-minute possible double bottom down here. You have a decent divergence, right? Oversold here, not able to get oversold on the next downturn at these lows. So, this isn't necessarily like, if you really draw it across, it kind of does come up. So this would make sense from this MACD behavior. But when you do see stuff like this at a level where we bounced from before, look for that to curl up and go positive. That could mean that some kind of pop is coming. Now, because I just noticed that this isn't necessarily divergence, right? This is just actually a move like this, a move slightly up, not necessarily coming all the way down to this level. I have to say this could be some kind of pop and drop to actually create that divergence down here. So that's what I'd be paying attention to for the Dow, and that could help us out with the SPY. So maybe the SPY does get some kind of pop and then drop back down over the next over the time before the Fed interest rate decision, or maybe the Fed interest rate decision makes that pop happen. We'll have to see, but just remember this too. We are right at that weekly expected move. Okay, for the Qs, we're at that weekly expected move. Sure, we haven't touched the daily yet, but you have a lot of time to buy back up to here. Maybe we drift down with the news we get later. We'll have to pay attention to the shorter time frames. And we're gonna be back live later on today. So make sure to subscribe and turn on those notifications. I don't even have my headphones on. Let me put my headphones on real quick. Let's get in a zone. All right, going through into Apple, this one here, you're looking for a break above 171 or a break below 169.30. 169.30 looks like the area to pay attention to there, because you're pretty much like, if we break through this high, we can cut through this pretty quick and go test these levels up here. But if we break through this low here, well, we can break through all this and test the previous low. So that's what I'm paying attention to. But just remember, the 2-hour did just curl over. So downside is likely, but some bounces will come. And that's what I'm talking about right now. So Apple, remember, earnings right around the corner. Just be cautious with that, especially if we make a move like this. Just be careful. You can take up or downside, but just know it's a 50-50 flip. Don't use an amount of money that's going to really beat you up. The 2-hour for Tesla able to curl down. Okay, so this is breaking below 180.92, going down to maybe to lower levels. So we'll have to see. But the expected move here is right in this area, and we're above it. So 68% chance to land down, keeping it simple. Amazon trying to build up, only up 2.92%, and it had a big move priced in. So not really living up to expectations here for Amazon, and now we're seeing some struggle at this level. So you really need to see a break above this level right here, right? 182.16, and then you want to see if that's fully able to take it back. Probably just say this bar right here for Amazon. NVIDIA breaking down just now, curling over on the 2-hour. So we could be seeing some kind of bigger drop. That's perfectly fine. We're trading like water, so we can see this curl up at any time. Well, what can we pay attention to? The hourly is going to be pretty close to the center line, but I like my 30-minute. I still trust this guy. It's a very, very close to positive territory. We get a reaction down. Hey, we could be heading up soon. Okay, we could be heading up soon, so that's something to pay attention to. AMD, This guy's still struggling, but it is at a point where it could double bottom. So just pay attention to your 2-hour charts here for AMD. If you're going to see the 2-hour chart roll back up, look where you are. You're positive territory. The downside already happened, but you could continue this a little bit, but just pay attention anytime this wants to curl up, because technically you would say, hey, I do have a slight divergence. I do have a massive divergence on AMD here. So even after that bad earnings, maybe we see some buying up, but just know that earnings chose the direction down from here. So if I'm going to see more downside, what's going to happen? Well, the 30 minutes going to curl up, curl back down into negative territory. So be open to both directions for AMD. Meta, this one still looks like it wants to pull down, but remember that weekly expected move is right in this area. If you're part of the Patreon, down in the description, that would be very good. And then remember, guys, the course 149 for just the next like 4 days. Okay, so make sure to get that, especially if you're trying to use the weekly ranges. It will help you understand them better. It'll tell you exactly what I'm calculating, pretty much like how it works. And that's a very, very useful thing to know, and it builds trust with your indicator, right? So if you learn with the course, you can really gain some more trust with your indicators, and I really trust my trading nowadays. So now we're looking at Microsoft wanting to make an upward move. Microsoft looking like it wants to double bottom or something like that from this area. Now, this is a double bottom, right? This is a double bottom. You have the evenness of the RSI down here, but a slight upward move on the MACD telling you, hey, this could be a pullback, but it could reverse that trend. Now, the 2 hour is really what you want to pay attention to here. If the 2 hour gains some steam, we could be really seeing a huge move from Microsoft over the next couple of weeks if that 2 hour is able to curl up with that divergence. Why? Because it likes to turn up the daily. And if this daily turns up, sure, you can go make some kind of lower high, but you would say, like, where are we going to gravitate towards? You're probably going to gravitate towards this level right here. I would say this level of 414.17, just looking where we tried to hold up. Once we break through that level, right, we try to hold up, we break through that level, boom, off to the races. So I think this level up here, if we see some major buying, is where the lower high can come out right at 418 to this level right here. This level right here. So 414 to 418 is what I'm going to pay attention to. Google, this one trying to make the next upward move. Look at that, 30-minute curls up, positive territory is there, okay? So just pay attention, because we could be seeing that upward move, and we just have to pay attention if that's going to roll over. Just because Google's seeing a positive move doesn't mean that the direction for the entire market is up. But you can see the MACD, you can see the behavior of the price action here, doesn't want to fully close this gap. It's outside of its weekly range, and the 30 minutes about to curl up. So it looks like another move could be coming for Google very soon. Now, lastly, let's just go over volatility real quick. Remember, volatility able to curl down as of right now. Most of the time, you're going to see volatility curl back down and see one more push in volatility. So scaling out a little bit, but keeping that hedge just in case that moment happens. I think that's likely. I think that's pretty likely. But with Microsoft showing us things, with Google showing us things, we have to be open to this just drifting down. So what do we want to pay attention to? Probably an hourly or in a 2 hour, see if that's able to cross over and actually go negative. That would beat this low, and probably going to make a new one. And we'll probably head down towards that 13 or 12.12. We'll see some kind of real pop. So now we're getting the structure for the real move higher that I've been talking about. This looks like some kind of sell-off as of right now, and we don't have a strong enough base. But if we can make a higher low or get some kind of divergence, then we can see that upward move. Let's do this real quick here. Alrighty, so now that we're done with volatility, what do we want to pay attention to? The dollar dropping off while the price of the SPY is lower, okay? So this price of the SPY is lower, the dollar is lower, meaning someone's buying into this move right now. Someone likes the price of this stuff, and the 2 hour is able to curl over on the dollar, so this might be it. This might be it. It genuinely might. Now, the thing about this area is you have to be open to head and shoulders, right? This could be a wonky looking head and shoulders. If you build this across like this, okay, left head, maybe we dip way down and create some kind of big right shoulder, getting that lower high in the stock market. That would be huge, and that would go into next week. Okay, so just pay attention to that with the dollar. It looks like we could see some scaling up. Now, if you are thinking if this direction is correct for now, I think you'd be right. This direction is correct, but look at HYG trying to build back up. And what's it building back up from? Well, a decent little level here, decent little level in this area. And we actually see it very, very, very oversold, and we could see that reaction up. We'll have to pay attention to what smart money's doing, and we'll bring all this stuff up back, or we'll bring all this stuff back up later. All right, so the SPY right now still staying at lower levels. Something to really pay attention to, I think, is the Dow. I think the Dow and Microsoft are two things to really pay attention to right now. If Microsoft sees extreme buying and the Dow sees some buying as well, well, the direction actually might be a little bit up from here, or this could be a pullback to create that divergence down in this area. So we'll pay attention to that going forward. Thank you. I believe the market has priced in this China news in the recent down. The reality factor, AMD lost 17% of its total revenue because China will no longer be buying AMD or Intel chips moving forward. Oh, God, that's bad. We'll check gold, too, before we head off, right? We'll check gold, and then we'll leave you guys on the SPY. Gold able to cross up on this MACD down here. What do we want to pay attention to? Well, the 2-hour curling up. Now, you don't have divergence or anything like that, but if this 2-hour curls up, you see the tapering that's going on right now in the selling. You see the tapering. We're in a wedge. So what could happen from here? Well, pay attention to that 30-minute doing something like this for a strong base. But as of right now, because pretty much when you touch the lower side of the wedge here, you can see some kind of move up, and then you're not able to touch that downside again, and then you break out from here. So I just pay attention to these little things like that. But if you are wanting to be patient, you can just wait through all this, see that 2-hour confirm right over here, and then boom, upside is there. If you can go positive, then you might be in the new trend for gold, right? We might be in a new uptrend for gold. And that's very interesting, but able to go negative for a little bit here. Until we go positive, we can't really talk about, testing this high or making a new one just yet. We could just be getting some kind of retest, and then that falls down. We'll pay attention going forward. All right, we're going to leave you guys on the SPY. Thank you guys so much for joining today. I know that we usually stream a little bit longer in the morning, but we're going to do 2 streams, okay? So pay attention, because a lot can happen before that news comes out later this afternoon, and a lot can happen during that actual speech. So we're going to be paying attention to that, reacting to it live, and thank you guys so much for joining. Make sure if you want to learn a lot of this stuff, 149 for the next 4 days, and I just wish you guys all the luck in the world trading with the rest of your day. I really, really do, and I will see you in a little while. Peace out.